Hey there! Are you stuck wondering where you're supposed to start for your job search and you find yourself in an endless loop where you're constantly tweaking and thinking about what you're supposed to be doing and you never get off the ground from the where do I start stage? Well, today we're going to talk a little bit about why that happens, and later on I'm actually going to share a little bit of a case study of what specific steps you can do to overcome it. Stay tuned. Hi there, welcome to Teach No More, where we help teachers move out of teaching and into a job that doubles your salary and lets you work half the time. My name is Sean and I'm a professional coach, and I specialize in helping teachers stop teaching and start living. So one of the things that happens, and something that I hear quite often from teachers who are looking to start a new career and get out of teaching and start a new profession, is this idea of where do I start? Now this is a giant topic and it's not something that I can possibly cover in one video or 10 videos or many videos. But I do want to talk a little bit about one of the reasons and one of the primary reasons why that does happen. So there's this thing that happens with teachers and it keeps them stuck in teaching far past when they would want to get out. And it can be very pervasive. So it's this idea of where do I start? And to kind of demonstrate this, I want you to think a little bit about maybe towards the beginning of your teaching career, and maybe you still do this. I actually just saw a comment the other day that made me think of this. And think about a time when you were trying to make a lesson plan, or you were trying to make a lesson. And you got stuck in this loop of constantly tweaking your lesson plan, taking things out, adding things in, revising your hook, coming up with the new learning objectives, whatever it might be. But you found yourself constantly working on this lesson plan. And maybe you didn't even bring it out that year. Maybe you actually put it on the shelf and you said, okay, next year I'm going to implement this into a unit. And maybe it grew into a unit, but it's a lesson plan that you just found yourself constantly tweaking, and maybe if you were lucky, you actually did deliver it, and then you went back to the drawing board and worked on it again. And you found yourself just constantly working on this thing, and it never went where you wanted it to go, which was to bring it to the students, which is the goal of a lesson plan. Or if you're like me and never made a lesson plan in your life, that's another approach too. So think about a time that this happened. What ends up happening is that you spend so much time trying to perfect something, and you get stuck in your own head worrying about, is this perfect? Is what I'm going to deliver, what am I going to do, is it going to be the exact thing I need to do to get whatever result it is that I want? So when you're applying to a job, you're probably thinking, I want to get the job. Or you might be thinking, I want to get the interview. Maybe your expectations have lowered to the point to where you're thinking, I just want someone to get back to me and not get an automated response. That's the only thing that I'm hoping for right now, and I've been there. But whatever it is, you are so concentrated on maximizing your potential for having that happen that you start to get wrapped up in the perfectionism of your application, tweaking your resume nonstop. Tweaking your cover letter nonstop are two common symptoms of this. But the most common symptom really is repeatedly asking yourself the question, where do I start? Where do I start? What am I even supposed to do? Well, the answer to that question is basically what caused the problem in the first place, and that is to apply to some places. Now, if you follow me at all, you will know very quickly, because I'm all about spreading out this message, I am not a quantity over quality advocate. I think that approach is detrimental and it does no one any good. But if you do find yourself stuck in that loop of thinking, where do I start? You might want to take on a little bit of a quantity over quality approach just for the first few applications, the first few contacts, the first few reach outs, whatever method that you're going to be using. Take that approach just to open up the door, just to get things going, right? You can tweak that lesson plan all you want. If you don't get in the classroom and deliver it, it doesn't mean anything. You've done nothing for anybody. So take a little bit of a quantity over a quality approach. Now, to kind of illustrate this, I want to talk a little bit about somewhat of a case study. It's a little bit of an odd one, maybe, for you. It's not about a teacher, actually, but it is about someone that I have kind of recently helped find a position, and that's my wife. So we'll use my wife as a little bit of an example. So she has a really great background, and this is why I think this is a good explanation. This is a good case study, because she has a very strong background, but it did not apply to the position in which she was offered. And her background is, although it's very strong, it does not necessarily lend her to think that she has all these amazing skills that she has. So my wife is from a different country. She's not a native English speaker. She's very conscious about that. And she worked in the health field overseas. And here there's obviously very strong regulations about the health field, and it's been very difficult for her to find something. So one of the interests that she has is with children. So one of the things that she's done here is she's worked in a daycare. So when we moved to where we moved here, this was last year, she was looking for a job, and she came upon an opening on a job site. Now she got stuck in this loop of, how do I go about this? What am I supposed to do? Oh, they're not going to like me. Oh, if I need to work on my resume. When do I send it in? And she had all these questions, and she got stuck. And my suggestion to her, and this will be my suggestion to you for this video, and I encourage you to give it a shot and see what happens. My suggestion to her was, look, this ad, this job posting has the contact person in the job posting information. Reach out to me if you have questions, etc. And I said, what I want you to do is just send her a message saying that you are interested in this position and you would like to talk with her about it. Just make contact with her and say, I'm interested. How do I talk to you? And it took a little bit of back and forth to convince her to do this, because she had all the reasons of, they're never going to listen to me. The posting says to send my resume, it says to send it into this portal over here and to go through these links, etc., etc., etc. And I said, look, instead of being stuck in your head about this, just contact the person and express your interest and say, how do I talk to you? And that action by her led the manager, who is I think she's the manager, the owner of this daycare, got back to her and said, I'd love to talk to you. Why don't you tell me a little bit more about yourself? They exchanged another email. My wife sent over, hey, I've been doing this. I've worked as this. And the person came back and said, yeah, why don't you come in on Tuesday? We'll talk. She went in for an interview on Tuesday, and she was nervous about that. I gave her kind of the same instructions, just go in and just be yourself. I've talked about the importance of being yourself and being authentic before. I will link a video to that. It's probably the most important thing you can do is just be authentic and be yourself, whether it's on your resume, on your cover letter, in your application, when you're reaching out to someone to network. If you're doing what my wife did and what I suggested she do, and what I would suggest that you try to do if you're stuck in your head with the how do I start phase of things, just to get going, be authentic, just be yourself, and you'll get good responses. So I'll link that here. So I told her, just be yourself, go in the interview. People love you, people love my wife. She's very personable, very nice. And she came back about an hour later, hour and a half later or something, and she was offered the position. That's it. So she went from being stuck in her head of where do I start, how do I do this, to being offered the position in the time that we sent the email to the time that she was offered position. It was less than a week. So if you are stuck in your head, I strongly recommend you find a job posting out there that has some contact information. Now, if the contact information is a recruiter, this is not going to work because recruiters, it's a completely different deal. Send that person a message, an email. Send them an email. Don't send it during bad times, Mondays, Fridays, etc. But send them an email and just say, look, this is who I am. This is a little bit of what my background is, what I offer. I'm really interested in this position. Do you think that we could talk about it? The goal, though, is not necessarily to get the job. The goal here is to get you out of your head of where do I start? Where do I start? And never actually doing anything. You have to do something. As I said, you can't just sit there and tweak that lesson plan and never deliver it. If you don't deliver it, no one is ever going to know that you made the lesson plan. You're never going to help anybody. You're never going to make forward momentum. And you'll never actually make that lesson into a better lesson. If you never get out of the step of where do I start, no one will ever know that you're even looking. You'll never get to tweak whatever it is that you're working on, your resume, your approach, your outreach, whatever. And you'll never have any results. You're guaranteed, absolutely guaranteed never to have results if you're stuck in the where do I start phase. All right, so give it a shot. Send out a contact. Let me know in the comments if you have done this and what your results are. Or alternatively, if you're sitting there thinking, Sean, this is the dumbest thing I have ever heard anyone ever suggest, put that in the comments, or put why do you feel that way. I'd love to read it. I would love to get some feedback on what you all are thinking about this. If you find this helpful, if you would like to know a little bit more about what I do, you can join the Facebook group. I do have a Facebook group. I will link the Facebook group down in the comments, so feel free to check that out. As always, I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Stay strong the end of the school year. When I'm making this video, the end of the school year, that time frame is approaching. It's pretty much here. Spring break is either here or right around the corner. And after that, it's the home stretch. So if you're watching this video during that time frame, stay strong. If it's another time frame, just hang in there. And I'll see you next time.